Alright guys, we did it. 6 hours to set up what I think is the cleanest rogue Weakauras that you can have. It tracks your CCs, it tracks your trinket usages, it tracks your cooldown timers, it tracks your short cooldown times in a separate section. All of this is separated into different sections so they only appear where you want them to appear. So here you go. Here are the cleanest rogue Weakauras that I could create for you guys. Alright, welcome guys. So in my previous UI video, everyone loved how I set up nug running. So nug running is a UI bar mod that shows things like, for example, if I sap this Yeti here, it shows like a sap timer duration. If I use distract, for example, I had another section to show short cooldowns. You can see down here I have another section for bars which shows my longer cooldowns. So this is when my evasion is coming up, this is when my sprint is coming up. And everyone really liked how I set up my UI like that in nug running. The problem is nug running is a pain in the butt to set up like that. It's a very long process involving things like setting up anchor points and then manually adding things to the anchor points and creating groups for the anchors. It's just basically a major hassle, and it was a pain in the butt. So what I did for you guys is I spent 6 hours on stream the other day changing all my nug running bars into these simple Weakauras. So right here we have debuff Weakauras, then we have long cooldown Weakauras, then we have short cooldown Weakauras, and then we even have rogue actives in the middle here for your slice and dice and trinket cooldowns and everything like that. So let me run you guys through everything now. Right? Okay, so first things first, you need Weakauras 2. If you don't have this Weakauras 2 add-on installed, you need to install it first. Link is of course in the UI guide in the description below as well. So I included a link for Weakauras 2. If you have it installed, great. If not, install it first. Then you click import, and then on the Wago page, so if we go here, for example, we just click copy classic weakaura import string, right? So you click copy that, paste the text in here in the game, you click import, and then you will have these Weakauras that we're going to cover. Now for the rogue actives, I basically took an existing one from redtuzk. He's a great UI designer. He makes the base UI that I'm using right now, and he's got this amazing Weakaura, but it hasn't been updated in a while, so I just updated it to include a bunch of trinkets that are more relevant now. So you can see here I added Jump Gabar, Badger the Swarm Guard, I added the face 6 trinkets as well. I added Earth Strike. Basically, I just added stuff that I thought was missing. I even added Crusader and double proc Crusader, so this will actually glow if you double proc Crusader. Yeah, I basically just took redtuzk's existing Weakaura and updated it to add more things to it. Okay, so to demonstrate how this active thing in the middle works is we have actives that appear underneath my character here where we've set it up. So if I use Earth Strike appears, right? So you see the cooldown for here. If I attack this Yeti and I start using Slice and Dice, for example. So let's say we use Slice and Dice. Slice and Dice appears here as a cooldown, right? So any active cooldowns I use will appear in the middle here. And you can see if I use Evasion, for example, Evasion appears, right? So it's just a very clean active buff for rogues display. Basically, I really liked redtuzk's application of it, so I changed his and made it apply for my stuff. Okay, so now next let's cover the debuffs. So here you can see my debuffs Weakaura. So it actually includes a lot of stuff. So this is basically anything you could ever apply to an enemy. It is timed here. So you can see here blind, flash bombs, nets, cheap shot, gouges. So all the rogue CCs basically. I even have PvPs, things like Goblin Mortar, Tidal Charms, Magic Dust, Rocket Helm, Mind Control, Grenades. I covered poisons as well. So any poisons you apply to enemy. Kicks if you silence them with a kick. If you disarm them, if you rupture, garrote, expose armor. So basically anything that you can apply to an enemy appears on this bar here. Right? So if I sap this guy, sap appears here. If I blind this guy, blind appears here. Right, if I gouge appears here. I can kidney shot him, kidney shot appears here. So yeah, this is basically just a clean buff for anything I could ever apply to an enemy. Okay, now next let's cover the short cooldowns. So short cooldowns are basically anything that under a minute long. So I basically made this bar just to cover short things that I might want to know. So you can see it's got recently bandage. It's got ghostly strike cooldown, feint cooldown, even though most rogues shouldn't be using feint usually. We have stealth here, we have kidney shot, gouge, kick, distract. So you can see, for example, here, if I distract this guy, right? So distract cooldown appears here, right? If I run up and kick this guy, right? Kick appears, and also my re-stealth timer appears. So any short duration cooldowns that I think I might need appears here. So if I gouge, this is when I can use gouge again, right? So this is my short cooldowns for just things that I might want to know when they're coming up soon, if they're on a short cooldown. Okay, now this is the long cooldown Weakauras. So this is everything that is more than a minute cooldown, basically. So you can see that the list is quite extensive. Now I did set this up so that for all of these trinket cooldowns, so I added a ton of trinkets because I'm someone that likes to play with a ton of different trinkets at any time. You'll notice that a lot of active trinkets actually share a shared cooldown. For example, any of these like Earth Strike, Jump Gamba, Kiss of the Spire, Slayer's Crest, Renataki's Charm, for example, all of these active DPS trinkets share the same cooldown. Now, one problem we did see with this at the start was that if you use one trinket, it showed the cooldown for every other trinket available, which is like 10,000 trinkets, right? But what we did to solve this is I made it so only ever show the cooldown for anything that you have equipped or anything that you might have in your bags, basically, at any given time. So for example, if I pop my Earth Strike now, right, it shows the cooldown for Earth Strike and then also the cooldown for Gnomish Death Ray and Renataki's, because those are the only other two trinkets that I have in my bags right now, right? So this is the workaround we had, so it wouldn't show 5,000 trinkets appearing when you used one, because a lot of these have a shared cooldown. So that's basically my long Weakauras. Now the only thing I would recommend that maybe if you don't raid as much or you're not a min-max raider, that maybe you delete is under the long Weakauras, I do have Swiftness Pot cooldown. So a lot of people might not actually need this, and it triggers when you use any potions at all. So if you don't care about this Swiftness Potion cooldown, you can right click. So you go to the Weakaura here, so I select row cooldowns long, I go to Swiftness Pot, right click on Swiftness Pot and click delete. Right, so that'll just delete this Weakaura. This is more because I use Swiftness Pots on the Twin Amps fight, and I like to know the cooldown for when I can use another Swiftness Pot. If you don't care about Swiftness Pot at all, just delete this one little section of the Weakaura. But yeah, apart from that, this long Weakaura covers a lot of stuff. So you can see here, I even covered racials. I covered all the standard rogue cooldowns: Prep, Blade Flurry, Cold Blood, Adrenaline Rush, for example. Yeah, so basically any trinkets that you could really realistically want are here. Now you can add your own if you want. The process for adding them isn't too difficult. But yeah, I think I covered most of the trinkets that you would want timers for in general. Okay, so those are my rogue Weakauras that I created for you guys. Feel free to grab them below in the description on the UI page. Now, if you wanted to copy my Elvui, I do have a whole UI setup that goes over not only how I set up my Elvui, but how I set up all my other cooldowns. Like for example, people really like mixed scrolling battle attacks. So you can see here, if I go attack this Winter Spring Owl here, you can see how I have my incoming damage on one side here, my outgoing damage on the other side here. This is mixed scrolling battle attacks. I covered how to set this up in my other UI video as well, so I'll have that linked in the description as well if you want my previous UI video. But yeah, that previous UI video basically shows how to set up all of that. Now 90% of my UI is just Elvui running the redtuzk UI skin. If you want that, I also have the profile for it, which will save you a lot of time, so you don't actually have to set up your bars and everything the same way as me. So you can see I have mouse over bars here, I have my target thing set up specifically how I like it, I have a combo point that is a little bit different from the base combo points. Basically, if you want your Elvui set up the exact same way as me, you can just go to Elvui. So this is after you've installed Elvui and redtuzk UI, and then you go to profiles, import profile, and then you can import the profile that I have shared on my UI page as well for redtuzk UI. So you just import that, and then once you click import now, it will basically set up your Elvui exactly the same way as me. The only thing I haven't set up for you is your action bar, so I actually unhid my main action bar before I exported it for you guys. which is this bar here. So if you want to hide your main action bar as well, like me, you can just go to alpha settings, go down to 0 here, and it will hide that main action bar as well. So I just showed that as default for when I export it because I thought people might want to see it. Not everyone wants to hide it like me. And you guys might need to change the buttons there before you hide it anyway. So yeah, if you want to hide it, just set the alpha to 0 for any bar, and it does that automatically. Alright, so yeah, if you want the rest of my UI and everything else I have set up, I do have a second video again linked below, which goes over the rest of my UI stuff. Besides that, really it's just these Weakauras, and Elvui is probably 90% of my settings. Just remember to have details installed. If you like this detail skin that comes with redtuzk UI, just make sure you have details installed before you install redtuzk UI. And there's a skin option when you're installing redtuzk UI to make your details look fancy like this as well. Alright, I hope you guys like these Weakauras created for you guys. If you like this, feel free to give it a like. Again, I stream on Twitch almost every single day except for one day a week that I take off sometimes to get a little break. But yeah, you can find me on twitch.tv and get these things earlier because my YouTube videos are always delayed versions of my Twitch streams usually. So yeah, feel free to follow me on Twitch. I stream every day. And yeah, take care. I'll catch you guys in the next video.